Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Robert Kinzel with Nomium, and we have another episode of Business Casual. Today we are joined by Sean and Joowon, and we're going to learn about their industries and what it's like being a foreigner and a foreign couple in Hong Kong working. So we've got a good mix here. It's our first duet webinar, so thank you for coming. Absolutely. Yeah. So why don't you just quickly tell us, who are you? What industry do you work in?
Sure, my name is Sean. I'm a credit analyst working for a rating agency.
I'm Joowon. I'm a trainee solicitor working at an international law firm based in Hong Kong.
Okay, so thank you for that. But I know there are a lot of people who maybe have never worked in the rating agency or know much about the law. Can you tell us just a little bit more? What do you do in your role in your field?
Sure. So as a credit rating analyst, on a day-to-day basis, I work with companies. I manage a portfolio of ratings, and what that means is I monitor companies' financial statements, financial performance, I monitor different news, and I manage a portfolio of ratings to make sure I communicate to the market our opinion, the company's opinion of the company's ability to honor their debt obligations.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds important. Sounds necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And then if things go wrong, they will end up calling a law firm. And then so what? So what do you do in your role in the law firm?
In a day-to-day job, I do a variety of tasks, including legal research, sometimes attending a call with the client or attending a hearing. So my tasks tend to vary a lot depending on the case we work on.
Okay. Cool. Now, do you ever cross paths? Do either in rating agencies or law firms? Maybe not you directly, but how often is the rating agency having to deal with lawyers and vice versa?
That's an interesting question.
We had a we worked on the common industry a couple of months ago. So I worked in construction department, and he previously worked
I used to cover different projects, some of them like construction projects. So we don't necessarily, fortunately we didn't have any conflicts of interest where we, at the same time cover the same company, but the areas of our work overlap, for a period of time. Sometimes I have to review different legal documents over the course of my work, and I sometimes have to go to her and consult with her. Yeah.
And sometimes I look at the documents that are related to the industry I work in, and he will take a look at it and find it quite interesting. Yeah. Because it overlaps with his as well.
Okay, awesome. So Sean, in the rating agency, what is something interesting, or what are aspects of that kind of work that you'd like to share with the broader business community who might be watching?
I think being an analyst, people often think about the financial aspect of things, right? And that's true. We have to be a little bit of a financial accountant, reading financial statements of companies and stuff like that. But what a lot of people don't know about our work is we have to be a generalist. And this is something that we briefly touched on just now. We have to, as credit analysts, we have to review a lot of legal documents. We have to monitor news, politics, government policies. We have to speak to different stakeholders. And I think one aspect of my job that I didn't really appreciate much coming into this profession was communication. And it's, I have to constantly communicate with stakeholders internally and externally. When we put out an opinion in the form of research or a rating action, it's not solely my decision. Thankfully, I have to go to a committee of people and convince the committee on my opinion, my recommendation, before it goes out to the public. And when it goes out to the public, I have to communicate my recommendation, my analysis to the company, as well as a community of investors. And that's where the communication really comes in for me. And I more and more as I go through this profession, I appreciate the importance of being able to be an effective communicator, speak with conviction, and also be a good listener, being an empathetic listener where...
Like when the bosses are like, no, this report's all wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can get very emotional because it's process of debate,
Okay.
and different opinions all come to the table, and I have to make sure that I present my opinions, but with respect, right? And rating actions are sometimes positive, but also at other times negative. They are downgrades, right? And when I do that, I have to communicate that to the companies that are being downgraded.
Wow.
And it's
Do they ever invite you back a second time?
Man, they do more often than I would like. But it's my job to explain our rationale and convince them. And I think my goal is being able to fully convince them on our rationale so that they can go, oh, okay, we regret that you have to downgrade us, but we respect your rationales. We understand your rationales.
Okay. So in terms of communication, what are the different methods of communication that you're using? So I'm guessing you're writing things, but then you're presenting in person. Are you doing also a lot of telephone or conference call or video?
All of them.
Everything like that?
Absolutely.
What's the hardest?
I think for me, personally, writing reports comes more naturally.
Okay.
I think it's easier for me. But then there are conference calls with investors, and I think for me, those conference calls where I have to debate with many different people, I think that gets a little more tricky. Being able to balance different opinions on a call, I think that's something that I find both exciting and challenging.
Yeah, especially without the body language, or it's really hard to pick up on when is this going to be a good time to mention this next piece to your, and you can see it in people's faces if they're kind of wanting more information.
Sure.
They're on the phone and you're just like, okay, what do they look like now? What
Yeah.
When is the pause long enough to get in this next idea? Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So what do you think is there anything like a miscommunication or something crazy that's happened in your line of work? Like, don't have to go into too much detail because I'm sure it's like protected, privileged information. Sure. But like, was there something that really went really wrong, or actually something that's just weird that happened? Not even negative, but just what's something that stands out about these situations?
I think I wouldn't say miscommunication, but when I first started out as an analyst in this line of business, I think one thing that I had to learn about it was importance of continuously communicating. So at the beginning I was worried about over communicating. You know what I mean? Like when I think about an event that can affect the credit quality of a company, I was worried about communicating with my manager, communicating with the management of the company. I was more reserved at the beginning, and thankfully I don't really recall a situation where that was that big of a problem, but there were situations where I could have communicated a little more. So I think my policy now is to over communicate, and usually I don't over communicate. That's the right level of communication. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Like, I like how you just ended that part of the interview. Like, and I don't over communicate. Close. Awesome. Excellent. So, Joowon, you're both from South Korea.
Yes.
But you happen to be the only Korean working in your law firm.
That's correct.
Which probably gives you some other fun communication aspects with the whole cultural element there. What's it like being the sole Korean there, and what is interesting about your job that you'd like to share with the broader business world?
To answer the first part of the question, it's quite interesting to be a Korean working in Hong Kong at this time, because a lot of Hong Kong people are interested in getting to know more about Korean culture, in particular pop cultures and dramas. So they come with lots of questions about what's going on in Korea and news. They're quite up to date. So it's quite nice to have some common topics to talk about. Coming from a foreign country, you have something that you can share with new community. So that's quite an interesting aspect. And another part is that I'm constantly exposed to complete foreign language, which is Cantonese, and sometimes Mandarin. And it can be intimidating at times. And what we did as a couple together to overcome that difficulty was picking up Mandarin to integrate better in this community and culture. And it worked out great for us. We are not frightened when we hear a complete foreign language anymore. And they're not a complete foreign language anymore because we do understand here and there. And it helped us greatly integrate into the community and get to know our colleagues more in depth. So that was great.
Real quick, I want to ask real quick.
Yes.
So you learned Mandarin.
Yes.
No, and so it's not intimidating anymore. What about Cantonese?
Cantonese is still intimidating.
Okay.
but I have picked up some words that can be quite useful in different contexts. So I often throw in my Cantonese words when my colleagues are speaking in Cantonese.
Okay.
So that I can join the conversation.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to break the ice between you and colleagues who are speaking in different languages.
Now, do you speak Mandarin and then you throw in Cantonese words and interchange them?
No, I never do that. I tend to stick to Mandarin when I speak Mandarin, but usually because my colleagues are mostly from Hong Kong, so when they speak Cantonese in a work setting or in a casual setting, I try to join the conversation by throwing in random Cantonese words. Nothing offensive, but something cute.
You're just yelling offensive words. Like people are having coffee, and you're just like,
they'll all leave you.
They're like, at least you're trying to learn something, right? Even if they're the offensive words.
People appreciate your effort.
People appreciate that.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned that you're a couple, and that's really the last question we wanted to ask here today. Was what do you do as a foreign couple living in Hong Kong, and you're both professionals, you work busy, intensive jobs. What do you do to find the balance between work and your personal life and your life as a couple?
I think, at the beginning I did have concerns about working intense, long hours, like you said, and having a spouse that does exactly the same thing, really long hours. But surprisingly, it's been working out very well for us. Having a spouse that understands and supports what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes, you come home stressed out, and you have to stay in the office longer than you like sometimes. But having a spouse that understands exactly that and being able to offer some advice, right? I think it really helps, right?
Yeah, and particularly when we are on a trip, from time to time, either me or he has to work for a few hours, or just to check emails on a regular basis, and we
the
do
laptop
not
on the
mind that.
beach.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
Okay.
But we do not mind that at all. We understand the nature of work we do involves some long hours and some unexpected workloads. So having a spouse who understands the nature of the work is really helpful. You feel more supported in a way, and it helps us understand each other better.
And I think one thing that we did that really changed, really improved our work-life balance was to really plan for vacation together. Really sit down, plan it out, and really commit ourselves to the planned vacation, right? Because at the beginning we struggled a little bit, her hours are long, my hours are long, and sometimes it's difficult to plan a vacation together. So there were a period of time when we went like many months, stretched, right, without any vacation together. But now we really like try to slot in vacation together, and even if we sometimes have to work during the vacation, it's still way better than nothing, and it really gives us that respite that we need.
Yes, and sometimes we have very intense holidays, like we go to Taiwan for just a weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
We try to squeeze in as much time as we can.
I was gonna say Hong Kong has so many like 3-day holidays throughout this year,
Exactly.
especially.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
that's
first half of the
amazing.
year, every month,
Yes.
there's been at least a 3 or 4 day holiday.
Yeah.
So grabbing as many of those as possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Whenever you have like a holiday in the middle of a week, let's say a Wednesday like Labor Day,
Yeah.
what do you do?
I come to Bob's office to do this interesting interview.
Yes,
It's an honor for
absolutely.
us.
We see
Yeah.
professional development on the
Yes.
holidays. We never rest.
Yes.
Well, excellent. Well,
Yeah.
thank you both for being here because we could go. I know these are meant to be short, and if we don't keep it short, what happens is we'll start not only getting deeper into relationship communication and professional work-life balance, but then we'll end up asking too many personal questions that you don't want on the internet. So we can.
Sure.
But before we close, is there anything else you'd like to say to anybody, whether it's somebody interested in your industry or other expats, foreigners living abroad, going abroad, or even couples who might be thinking of making a jump to Hong Kong or Singapore, where a lot of people are going? Do you have any final words of wisdom? You don't have to, but if you have.
I think Hong Kong offers a lot of opportunities for people who are ready. So it's really good for professionals to be able to work in Hong Kong, particularly the industry that I work in. Gives a lot of exposure to different type of work as well as the regions. So it's really grateful that we are able to work in Hong Kong. And as a couple, we find it quite interesting that Hong Kong is geographically convenient to travel to different places. So we get to squeeze our time and then go somewhere Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And
Chiang Mai is what, a couple hours, 2.5 hours?
we haven't done that yet.
You haven't
but
done Chiang Mai yet? All right. Well, that'll
so
be
we're
our.
looking forward to doing it.
Well, what you'll need to do is you'll have to come back here and we'll do a second follow-up, like tell us all about Chiang Mai.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else from you, Mr. Sean?
No, I think I just want to a quick shout out to my beautiful wife. For being a supportive spouse. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to shout out to both of you and say thanks for doing this. It is the first time we've had 2 people on. You guys have made this interesting, easy for me, and awesome. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
See you around. Those of you watching, if you have any follow-up questions, put them in the comments of whatever social media site you're looking at right now. And if you want to be in one of our wonderful webinars, or you want to request somebody or a certain type of person in a certain industry, reach out to us and we'll do our best networking to bring them on. So thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Peace out.